Is 6 p.m. I would like to call to order the Norwood City School District Board of Education Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, March 4th. Mrs. Camphouse, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Atwood. Ms. Ballard.
Present.
Mrs. Rarica.
Present.
Mr. Taylor is absent. And Mrs. Cole.
Present. All right, would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which I stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Turn your microphone off.
All right, item 3 on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt?
All motion? I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse?
Mr. Atwood. Ms. Ballard.
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica.
Yes.
And Mrs. Cole.
Yes. All right, moving quickly along. Item 4, this is our discussion items. And tonight we have Mr. Miller here, principal of Williams Avenue Elementary. So Mr. Miller, at this time, I will turn it over to you. Please make sure your microphone is on. There you go.
There we go. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ronan, administrative team, and guests. It is my pleasure to share with you this evening a brief overview and status for Williams Avenue Elementary. I thought it would be good to start off by answering a few basic questions like, who goes to Williams Avenue Elementary? Who works there? What kinds of things do they do? We will begin with our students, our staff, and our story, if I can get this to work. Oh, there it goes. Perfect. So our current enrollment sits at 257 students, and that is preschool to 5th grade. Last year, we ended at 245 students. Open enrollment, from my perspective, has been a benefit to not only our numbers, but also to the quality of our students. Currently, we have 17 open enrolled students, and for next year, we have those 17 students, and on top of that, we have 7 more that are planning on coming to Williams Avenue Elementary. And by and large, those students are absolutely wonderful students. Their families are choosing Williams Avenue Elementary and Norwood City Schools as their education destination. And I'm excited to see that we have, in addition to those numbers, more students that wish to come to our school district and in particular Williams Avenue Elementary. We have 25 intra-district students. Just a little bit about our demographics. In the springtime here, our teachers will be meeting. They meet in like 3rd and 4th grade meet, and then 2nd and 3rd grade will meet to create the class list to really work out, which teachers are going to work best with what students to set them up for success. There is a discrepancy there with the male-female at this point, and I'm sure that happens throughout a number of years within school districts, which is something that the teachers work out to balance the class dynamics and the numbers of male and female. We have 47 identified students, that is preschool through 5th grade, and 504 students. We have 13 of those students and counting, actually. We have 24 teachers, 18 paraprofessionals. The majority of those paraprofessionals are either working one-on-one with students or are working in a designated specialized classroom for students of need. Support staff, 12, that includes, of course, secretary. We have maintenance, IT department, health aid, cafeteria, and central office, which we could do none of the things that we do here at Williams without all of these folks. I counted up 17 grade level classrooms, that is pre-K to Fifth grade, it includes specials and STEM. It does not include a specialized classroom that predominantly serves students, autistic students or students on the spectrum. We offer and provide a resource room currently here at Williams, which I think there might be plans to expand perhaps in some of the other elementaries. We offer OT, PT, speech services to our identified students. And of course, intervention specialists are here to help and support our identified students. We have a Talbot House individual in-house, as well as a school counselor. We offer and provide gifted and ESL services, and art, PE, and music, here as well as throughout the district. So when our students are here, what do? We start from the very beginning of the school year with PACS visioning. And that's where our teachers work with students to create basically a social contract in terms of what they want to see, hear, do, feel more of, and what they want to see, hear, do, feel less of within the classroom. And you may see those throughout. I'm sure you've been walking around the schools and you see that. And what I have here is our PACS matrix, which is essentially what our expected behaviors are throughout the school. And we start our school year doing what we call PACS stations, where we take each grade level and classroom, and we go to the different parts of the school building and talk to the students about this is, what we expect while you're here and in this place. Supporting and motivating students, we have monthly PACS celebrations that I'm very excited. Maybe you've seen some of the pictures in the status reports. We're sharing that a lot more with families. We're inviting them in every month. And it's just been awesome to see that, where the parents get to see, what's going on a little bit more in terms of what's going on in the school and how we are celebrating their students individually. Teachers give out Wildcat bucks to students where they get to spend in the Wildcat store on a monthly basis. And of course, the teachers also have their individual celebrations within their classrooms, whether it be IXL, Extra Math, Boost, Zern. The teachers, I look at Class Dojo. I don't know if any of you have the Class Dojo in here. I mean, it's wonderful. On a daily basis, the teachers are highlighting kids and the parents get to see what's going on, and we're celebrating and supporting their kiddos. MTTS, I'm sure you've heard of, multi-tiered system supports, or response to intervention is another name that you may have heard. In terms of helping kiddos that are behind or need support to help them catch up. And I have to mention the small group with title that we provide to students, predominantly reading, as well as small groups through our intervention specialist teams. These are just a few pictures. This is Gus here on the left, happy guy. We typically do our celebrations in the library. These are some of our fifth graders here on the right there. They're helping with kindergarten in their PACS shopping. Some more pictures. We also use Wildcat Wows. Teachers, staff can recognize students at any point for the good things that they're doing throughout the day here at school. And I do try to share those specifically with the parents. Either it's an email or a text so they can see, and they're always excited to see that. We've started an attendance incentive, which I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a moment, about Your Presence Matters. Come on. There we go. Wildcat, Wild Reading Buddies through our title. We do Spirit Weeks, student recognition in the classroom. Of course, we have book fair to celebrate and promote reading. Career Day, which is something that we haven't done at Williams in a while, which will be coming up in April. Schoolhouse Symphony was here just last week. And of course, we've invited, and they've come every year, our high school band, orchestra, theater have come to help Noel to perform for our students. 100 Days of School is a celebration that our kindergartners do. You may have seen that. Come on. This week happens to be Literacy Week. So if you have a favorite book character tomorrow, you can dress as Cat in the Hat or whatever you whatever might be your favorite. Norwood Spirit Week was earlier this year in the fall, and I just had to put this picture. This is just a great picture of our couple of our kiddos in their Bow Tie Tuesday. Motivating, supporting, celebrating. You may hear me say this if it's a midweek or at the end of the week, stressing to students that their presence matters, their presence is needed, their presence is wanted, and their presence really makes a difference. Districts are getting beat up all over the place about chronic absenteeism, and we decided to flip it on its head. And like we just need to celebrate, kids being here and stressing that just, how important it is for them to be here. So we'll continue this throughout the rest of the school year. And this is just one of our second grade teams that is very excited to have won the pizza party for the month. Our report card, I just mentioned, we landed at a 3.5. We dropped in our gap closing, not what I wanted to see happen. And there were reasons for that, predominantly because of attendance and gifted in terms of getting some points and numbers for those in terms of our score, which we're working on and addressing. Engaging families and community. We did a mid-year parent survey. One of the things that we chose to do this year is ask parents about parent-teacher conferences and if they would be interested in bringing their kids to conferences, which sounds perhaps counterintuitive, but would they be interested in bringing their kids if we could set up a space for them to do crafts, play games, or have a pizza party and watch a movie in the auditorium, which we had a lot of interest in that. We provided that this year, and we actually did both. And I'm kind of excited to say that by and large, most kids chose to do the games and the crafts, which was awesome. And we provided parents and their kids with something to eat while they were here, just to help parents out so that they could meet with teachers.
Did it improve parent participation?
Yes, and honestly, most of the parents, they were like, some hadn't seen it, and they were just like, "This is awesome." They were, because you get home from work and you got to, what am I going to feed my kid? So it's something we plan on continuing for next year, is provide a little something to eat and a place for kids to go while they're meeting with their teacher. And then when they're done, they can join their kiddo in the library and do some crafts, play some games, or watch a movie if they want to. So it was a highlight. It was a good thing, and we plan to continue. Indoor veteran parade is another way we've reached out, which is something that Ms. Wade developed and created and set up for this year. I have a couple pictures I'll get to here in just a moment. Kroger Community Rewards, which has been huge. And parents, all they have to do is choose Williams as their community rewards partner. Those rewards have been significant, and our kids and our staff have all benefited from it, whether it's taking trips, having supplies and materials perhaps for the classroom. It has been awesome. Career Day, I mentioned that. Well, let's get to some pictures. Here we go. Some of this just brings some tears to my eyes. The indoor parade was absolutely fabulous. We had a really good turnout for the first time, and not to upstage View, because what View does is spectacular and awesome. That was never our intention, and it won't be. We just wanted to provide that here for our families as well, as a way to recognize our veterans. Our PTA, of course, is our partners in this whole ordeal, and we couldn't do it without them. These are some pictures up top here of our Grandparents' Day that starts out the beginning of the year. It's just fabulous. I know there's one young man who his grandma comes all the way from North Carolina, and I was hunting for the pictures, and I think I took the picture on their phone instead of on the phone that I had. But it's just a great event, and our teachers step up and help out with that. The bottom right there is our Boo event, and yes, that is a RV. That's correct. One of our parents, Mr. Balzer, brought that over. We'll call that our boo van. So that was part of the trunk or treat. As you can see there, this is not all, but it's some highlights of some of the things that we work with our PTA on, and they use these activities to help support us, help support our students in our school district. I think I might have some more pictures, and I'm gonna be done. Mary Market, Valentine's. This is normally our lines are almost all the way at the end of the hallway with kids lining up to get those Valentine grams. Grandparents' Day, breakfast, and I have to end. I have to give honor to our former superintendent. She always ended her emails with love and honor, and I truly feel that way. The way this student looks, she is so proud, and I feel that way about working here at Norwood City Schools. I'm proud to work here and serve this district, this community, the staff, and the students. And thank you. If you have any questions, happy to answer.
I do have a question for you.
Yes.
You need to let me know when the dates are for the carnival so I can set up my face paint again. Because I love face painting at the carnival.
Well,
Um,
we're good. April 9th.
ooh, okay.
April 9th.
9th. You heard
That's
it here
coming up.
first, folks.
You heard
April
it. You heard it
9th,
here first. Yes.
The Williams
yes.
Avenue Carnival featuring face paint.
Yes.
I'll put that in my calendar. So hopefully I'll mesh up, make sure I can do it before I say anything. But I want to make sure that's on my calendar.
Absolutely.
That's such a great event, and I always have fun doing it. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to see it continue. My other question, you were mentioning the open enrollment earlier.
Yes.
The number of incoming students, you said you had 7 new students. Do you happen to know, are those family members of current students, or are those new to the district?
There, I want to say I saw 2. I'd have to look at
Okay.
the sheet. There might have been 2 or 3 that were siblings of,
Okay.
but like, the rest of them were like new to Norwood.
Okay.
Open enrolled
That's awesome.
students.
Either way, because if we're bringing
Yes.
in whole families, it's wonderful to
Yeah.
see that, hey, I had a good experience. I want my other children to also go to Norwood.
Yeah.
And also saying, hey, I'm deciding as a new family to enter Norwood. So that's either one is a positive. That's wonderful.
And when I look at those students specifically, I mean, by and large, they're good students. They come to school, they do great in school, great families, and I think it's just been a huge benefit.
Oh, I have the total number of open enrollment applications, 127 so far.
Wow,
That's awesome.
that's great.
And can I add one more thing?
You can.
So, guys, this will be for you because you're taking notes on this. So, each month, we welcome in one of our district partners. So, it could be a construction partner that's working on one of our buildings. It could be one of our actual building principals. It could be someone presenting to us on a certain topic. So, each month, we try to address something different and hear about something cool that's happening in our schools. So, this rotates. It's not always from Williams. It's not always from the high school. We try to rotate that information. So if you ever come back, it'll be completely different on what we might be learning about. Okay?
Do you have anything else?
Boo night in Mary Market, super fun.
Yeah, I was going to say that means so much to the kids, like when they see you there, and I think that's awesome. And I know all of our principals in the district are fantastic in showing up for their students. But I mean, I think we were parked next to each other at trunk or treat, and the kids were, Mr. Miller, it just,
Yeah.
it's a real big deal to them. And I hope that you and our other principals realize how important that is to their students. So I appreciate you doing that.
Awesome this year because it was the first year I had. Normally, I will hang out on the inside with the older kiddos, and I was like, you know what, the PTA's got this. I'll go. I'll do trunk or treat this year, and it was. You're right. It was so cute. I mean, kids coming up, and I
cutest.
mean,
Yeah.
that just tears you up.
It's cute as long as you're bringing good candy.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
gotta have good
absolutely.
kids.
See, now I was going to say that was no question. When they asked the board to volunteer, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm outside at the trunks. I don't want to be in there with all the loud stuff.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
Debbie and I are like the trunk or treat
Or the trunk or
master
treat people.
Yeah,
For sure.
it's a lot of fun.
And then in addition to the excitement of having a principal there or whatever, all these events are such great opportunities for not just parents to come in, but like none of us have kids at Williams. Mine did, but they're older now. They're not there.
Yeah.
But we all get to go, and anybody in the community could go volunteer for Trunk or Treat, volunteer for Merry Market, volunteer for the carnival. And
Just contact the PTAs. I'm sure they would appreciate the support. And a lot of the families, they work, they may not be available every event. So it's a good way to help them out and support the schools.
that and just connecting with the community so that even people who don't have kids there know what's going on in the school and feel a connection that it is also their school.
Absolutely.
And I love the idea of adding the food. It takes a burden off of those families who may struggle with, oh, I can't bring the kids. I've got to figure out dinner. I can't get away, from work fast enough to do all of these things and check all those boxes in the evening. So to take that burden off, I hope that's something that our other schools are also taking advantage of, or at least, talk to them about ways that they can do the same thing. Because if they're not, they should be. That's a really excellent idea.
It is. It's
really
I know I always took my kids. I didn't know people didn't. I had a funny story, but it's kind of terrible. But one time for their teacher conference at Williams, so I'm going to go ahead and tell it. We had to bury we came home and found our cat died, and we had to bury our cat like so fast because I'm like, I gotta get to parent teacher conference. And luckily we only lived a block away. Four of us running around the block. We're here.
That's dedication, Alice.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, you know what? That'll be an email to that teacher later.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to follow that one, but
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
It
for your
was-
time.
it
I
was
appreciate
fine.
it.
See, I told you it'd be an interesting meeting, guys. You never know what you're going to hear.
did you get all right? All right. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
All right, continuing on with the agenda, item 5, this is personnel superintendent recommendations. So at this time, I will turn it over to Superintendent Mrs. Ronan.
Thank you, Madam President. Under item number 1, employment, we're very excited. We've hired early this year, and these are our 4 new hires for next year. And right now, we are fully staffed unless someone leaves us this spring. On item number 2, we'd like to welcome, those teachers are for August, not for this year. However, right under that, where it says student assistants, these are 2 new student assistants for the current year to replace individuals who have left us. And then also, you see, we have our new HVAC technician. I know he's been on the job with Mr. Peter up on the roofs, working with all of our heat pumps, etc. And we also have a new site coordinator at Avenues, as you can see. Then under item number 2, our pupil service contracts, we are adding additional spring sport coaches. So that's what that's about. Then resignation, that should be item 2. We do have one of our varsity football assistants leave us, and underneath it, there's a change of status for another one of our varsity football assistants. And thank you. That concludes my section.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Ronan. Item 6 on the agenda, this is Education Committee. So at this time, I will turn it over to Mrs. Rarica.
Okay. Well, I was daydreaming there. We have some student field trips. We have some high school students going to Shepherd Chemical, and the high school band going to the George Rogers Clark High School in Winchester, Kentucky, and Sharpsburg Elementary going to Green Acres. Cool. And then next we have a resolution in support of full implementation of the Fair School Funding Plan. You might have heard quite a bit in the news about our state budget and the Fair School Funding Plan. It's really important that we have our schools supported, and so we are sending a resolution to support the Fair School Funding Plan, and hopefully they vote to pass it. So that is our resolution. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Rarica. Item 7 on the agenda, this is Policy Committee. Mr. Taylor is not here. This is the second reading of 2 policies. Mrs. Chesson, do you care if I put you on the spot to brief us on that? I'm sorry, I hadn't thought about that in advance.
Your
Could you turn your
microphone?
microphone?
There are two policies this month. They are the second reading. The first policy is an executive sessions policy, BDC, and a cybersecurity policy, EHC. And we've discussed it before that the executive session policy has a few changes, and the cybersecurity policy is one that Julie Camphouse, our treasurer, and Randall Grandstaff, our director of technology, worked on to make that appropriate for our school district. So this is a second reading. We'll be bringing that for your to the board for the board meeting next Thursday. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Chesson. Sorry about that.
That's
should've-
okay.
I didn't think about that in advance.
Thankfully, these were easy.
And there were only two.
Mm-hmm.
All right, item 8, this is building and grounds, so I will turn it over to Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Madam President. We actually have some requests coming up, and I'm very excited to announce that the Norwood Fire Department has asked again to use Shea Stadium for their fire candidates agility test. They'll be using the stands, track area, visiting locker room, etc. That's March 28th, all day. They do have a rain date of April 4th. Our second request is the Norwood Knot Hole for their opening day at Shea Stadium on April 5th, and they have a rain date of April 12th. And the third request is the 2025 Korfball Tournament, the Norwood High School gym and cafeteria. They'd like to use that in September. They have not determined dates yet, but they'll be coordinating that with our director. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Ballard.
One last year. Just
Yeah, it's a new thing. It's kind of cool.
And it was pretty impressive, the people who were coming in from other places. It was, I
Yeah,
was
new
impressed.
sport, Korfball.
Right. Who
Korf,
would know?
Korfball. Check it out. Check out Korfball. We hosted a tournament for them last year. It was really cool. Check it out, and maybe
I think they told
Come in
us,
September.
was it national? Oh. Did they, it's either like the whole national korfball league or the whole world one, maybe national. They were telling me all about it. I was like, oh, wow, that's large. Okay.
it's kind of
Thanks for choosing us.
And just so you guys know, it seems that we're kind of moving through this a little bit quickly. The intent here is that we just discuss everything that we're going to vote on at the next board meeting. So that's what the purpose of this is. So if we wanted to discuss any of it, or, somebody had questions, this is where we would do that, so that when it's time to vote, it goes more smoothly. So just so you know.
So in that meeting, we go even faster.
All right, item 9 on the agenda, this is our Finance Committee meeting, so I will turn it over to our treasurer, Mrs. Camphouse.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to talk about briefly some funding changes expected for Norwood City Schools. The new biennial budget includes a 5% and 10% cut respectively over the next 2 years for our school district and many schools just like us. Since the state of Ohio is not putting enough cash into the funding formula, it has failed to keep up with the local share increases, and now many districts are on the guarantee. The governor's plan now for this biennium includes cuts to the guarantee.
you had it right the first time.
Yeah, gutting it. From our local share, local government officials are now giving away Norwood City Schools commercial property tax revenue through abatements. The Wasson Way apartment complex, a large development coming to the area across from Xavier on the corner of Dana and Montgomery, is being built completely tax-free. All property taxes are waived 100% for 15 years on the project, and I've heard that they will ask for another 15 years before they start construction. This is a for-profit venture. Factory 52 Phase 2 expansion. PLK promised the district that they would increase compensation in Phase 2 while negotiating Phase 1 with the district. Rather than negotiating again with the district, they persuaded local government to increase the commercial abatement ordinance from 49% abated to 74% abated. So now this for-profit entity is receiving a 74% 15-year forgiveness on property taxes. In addition, this new ordinance allows all new construction business owners to get property tax forgiveness of 74% for 15 years. Of course, the great majority of our residential taxpayers continue to pay their property taxes. This is residential. and support their public schools. The state legislature have several bills in the works to help relieve property taxes for homeowners. It's like our legislature doesn't want to understand the best way to help homeowners with their taxes to properly fund public schools through state funding. You know, the funding that was found unconstitutional in 1997's DeRolf versus the state of Ohio, as it failed to provide adequate resources for quality education and relied too heavily on property taxes. That all sounds very familiar to me. As the treasurer of this district, I should oversee local funding. Even though the Board of Education and I have not levied new taxes at all, the above funding issues continue to push more reliance on homeowners to fund public schools. When watching the state of Ohio legislation's work on these bills in the hopper, I find myself muttering, watch what they do, not what they say. Their words definitely do not match their work. They say they want property tax relief for residents, but they vote in ways that increase property taxes. What they want to do is end public education. On the agenda, the CFO report, monthly financials, and change order listings are attached for your review. 9.02 appropriation resolution, which is our current budget. 9.03 donations, 2 nice donations, one from Kroger Community Rewards for $1,079 to Avenues for Success, and one from Mrs. Rarica to the orchestra for $292.
I have $20 in my purse more for that
Okay,
somebody gave me.
so that would be even more.
Yay!
9.04 Williams Beautification bid opening. Our bid opening is March 18th at 1 p.m. at the board office, and we hope to get lots of really good bids on that project. 9.05 to approve Peterman contract after acquiring quotes. Mr. Peter and I did a full request for proposal process with help from Amanda Havland. Our lowest proposal was from our current provider, which is always good. Peterman has been a great partner in education, and we look forward to working with them in the future. We do anticipate doing another RFP for van services now that the bus service requests are finished. 9.06, resolution to authorize filing of Board of Revision complaint. This Board of Revision original complaint is following a sale of a commercial property. This property sold for $4.4 million and is on the county auditor's books for $3.256 million. So we are requesting that the auditor increase the value to the sales price through the Board of Revision process. And so we will be voting on those things next on the 20th when we come back into regular session. Is there any questions at all on?
Madam President, if I may just make a comment,
Certainly.
if everyone can hear me.
We can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Mrs. Camphouse is correct that when PLK negotiated the phase 1 of the Factory 52 property, they did in fact make an agreement with us that, they would increase the revenue stream for phase 2. Now, when they were planning out phase 2, it is my understanding that PLK attempted to get some additional grant money from the state, but they were competing against some other economic development properties. And I believe the grant funding ended up going to the redevelopment around TQL Stadium. So PLK lost out on that. If everyone recalls, following that, then PLK approached the city to have the city adopt some sort of sales tax board for the commercial enterprises that reside within PLK. So this would allow PLK to collect, I think they were asking for 2% sales tax for everything that was bought within the grounds of Factory 52, and also to establish a board that would then allow that zone to change and up the sales tax whenever they decided that they want to. the city decided to table that or not approve that. So everything was quiet after that up until December, when out of the blue, the city decided to change the ordinance for the level of abatement that they would give. Now, you know, property tax abatement, which the primary funding source of that is for the school district. Traditionally, it has always been at 50%, and anything over 50%, the developer would then have to negotiate with the school district. Now they've done that at 74%. That law changed at the state level a couple of years ago. That was brought up during the negotiation process for phase one with PLK. And at that time, the mayor of the city said that they would honor the traditional ordinance at the 50% level. So having that change without having anybody from city council or the city at least consult with us as to how that would impact us is very disappointing. Now, where that leaves my thoughts is, you know, I would encourage some sort of statement from us where we can just voice our opinion here. I know I'm just speaking on behalf of myself, but I think us as a body should do that. In addition, I would like to make a recommendation that, you know, the administration uses every available mean within the law to collect the revenue that is owed us from these development process. And there's some revenue streams that we have traditionally just said, okay, income taxes, the city's purview, and then property taxes, the school's purview. I mean, but without working together, I think, you know, as an administration or as an organization, you know, we protect our revenue stream. And that's how I feel about that.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got
we
a
all
question
agree. Did you want
On
to say
that,
something?
Brandon, you may know this. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily expect one individual city council member to just come to us, but they have the treasurer. They understand that this is their responsibility. Who would be the person that should be reaching out to us to give us this kind of information? And do we have any legal recourse to hold them accountable for their original agreement? Because I'm with Brandon on this one. We need to pursue that because that was what they agreed to in the first place.
It was just an off-the-cuff promise to us. So there's nothing we can do.
We have nothing binding.
No, we have nothing that we can do legally to force their hands.
We need everything binding.
But it would, you know, it would have been nice to get a heads up or, listen, I'm being forced politically to do this. Something, you know,
Yeah.
something. We actually, you know, move in the same circles and go to the same luncheons and had no
Basketball
forewarning.
game,
It's just, it's disheartening. Like, I think we all feel like
heartbroken.
betrayed.
Yeah.
You know,
We're like,
it's-
hello, we're
it's-
here.
Yeah. I think this was, I think this is just devastating.
And I wanted to point out that Julie laid it all out, but in case you didn't catch what all that meant, was that the state says schools get money from property taxes, but who controls who pays them and how much they pay? Is it the schools? No, we have zero say in it. I'm getting really upset now.
Okay.
I'm going to take a breath.
Basically, the city has control
The
over
city
that
does.
part. They
and
can
if
decide.
they choose for a business to not pay us, they can just do that. They keep their money and they take away ours.
And it puts
And
the
we have
burden on
no
the
say in
taxpayers.
it. And our kids have no say in it.
And it
It's
puts,
maddening.
it puts the burden on our homeowners. And
Yes, that's a good one
you
too.
know, as I reflected on this, you know, it's, you know, this is our future. You know, I mean, I think every one of the 5 board members, you know, we're here because we care, you know, and we're raising that next generation that's going to have to take over for us someday. And they're going to take positions in the city and they're going to take positions on the board. And we rehire our students as teachers to come back. And we rehire, we have administrators, and that have been here. And it's just like, you're basically telling us that it's not worth it. We can't.
Well,
we're
what's
not
sad is
going
we also
to-
have city council who was born here and
Here
raised
and-
here and doing this.
Or
too.
almost
have
all of them
kids in
have
our
children
schools.
in our schools.
It needs to be a two-way conversation. It needs to be something that's a relationship and not a hindrance. We need to be able to support each other in this growth because the businesses that thrive in Norwood will help the schools thrive in Norwood. And how a few years ago we were able to return a bunch of unneeded, at the time, tax money to our voters because we didn't need to use that, and that was being fiscally responsible. Now we might be reaching a point between cuts and abatement issues and contract issues that might make us seek out further levies in the future that we don't want to have to go after because we shouldn't put any more burden on the
On our
taxpayers for
taxpayers.
something that should be given to us by right through working with the city. And that needs to be an improved relationship. It just needs to be.
We have strong businesses in Norwood, and they should be paying their fair share.
I have, I've been doing this a long time, and so I'm used to all the crazy stuff that goes on the state level.
Yeah.
We see cuts, it happens, you get on with it, but this has been, with it happening at home, with it happening from our local share, and having no power.
I feel like a Tyson and Holyfield fight over
it.
here. We're just taking hit after hit.
Well,
after
that's-
Every single funding source we have
Yeah.
is under attack right now.
That's what-
Every single one.
Yeah, that's what's so sad. The state's turning their back on us. The federal government's turning our back on us. And now our local government is turning their backs on us. And that's how it feels for me personally. And I just know that our administration and I personally felt like we were in a better place than this
Yeah.
with these folks. And disheartening is the only word. I mean, it's the only word.
That's what I keep saying too. I know. Disappointed.
I just feel like personally attacked.
we talk a lot about community and we aren't seeing it. And it's
When someone else has their hand on our money flow and they get to choose without asking us,
So what's also frustrating about this is when they passed the ordinance in December, they declared an emergency, which allowed them the ability to waive and have all three readings at once. So there was no ability for anybody to catch this and comment until after it was done. And with declaring an emergency, by law, as soon as the mayor signs it, that ordinance goes into immediate effect instead of having some sort of waiting period for it to go into effect. So it was not good the way that it was done at the 11th hour, just to pull the rug out from underneath us like that.
and hope we didn't notice.
Well, and Brandon, if I may build on what you're saying, just for anybody listening that doesn't really understand the significance of what Brandon just said, for example, like when we pass policy for the school, we have 2 readings of it. So we introduce it the first month and we say, this is the first reading and here's the policy. And Christina does an excellent job of walking us through all those changes and exactly what it's going to look like. And that gives our public or anybody, any of the board members, that gives us a chance, a whole month to come back and say, hey, I have questions about this. Why are we passing this? What about this? What about that? Then it goes through a second reading. And then there's still a vote that has to take place the week following that second reading. So, there are reasons to bypass that process. Like if something needs to be adopted immediately, I think in my 6 years on the board or 5 years, however, 6 years I've been here, I think I've seen it once.
And it's usually we have to meet a construction deadline or
Yes.
an announcement deadline, and we
Yes.
don't. Yes, we do.
Yes, so just to kind of, reinforce what Brandon was saying, why this is so terrible. And it's, like I said, it was, instead of 2 readings, it was 3.
Yeah, they do.
It was 3 that happened.
They
Yeah.
typically, the city council usually does 3 readings of something. They'll introduce, they'll reread. It gives the public time to come in and question. And so for them to maybe we'll skip 1 reading. Maybe it's an insignificant or low level thing. They might skip 1 reading. But for them to just go ahead and jump over all 3 of them at once, it's unheard of to do that with no communication and not act like you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah. Now, council does have the opportunity and the ability to repeal the ordinance. So if enough pressure is put on council, they do have the opportunity to repeal it.
Do you know the ordinance number, Brandon?
I can tell you real quick.
Julie has it. Okay.
Yeah, we have it right here.
Yeah. Is that
51-2024.
Anybody else want a copy?
Oh, I'm just going to take a picture of this front page so I know which one it is to reference.
Oh,
have
it's
that.
all
That's your
superseding.
Somebody's getting a phone call.
I'm not sure which one is the correct number. What
The
does
one
all
at the
that
top.
mean?
The one at the top that's written in is the new
Oh,
ordinance.
62.
Ordinance 62, 2024. Let me see here. Ordinance, excuse me, 51-2024. No, there's
Yeah,
two.
it ends up being 62. All those are
62 oh, they-
superseding this, superseding that. Blah,
Got
blah,
it,
blah,
got
blah.
it, got it. Ordinance number 62. Okay. Yeah, not okay.
Anything further? I know this is not,
Can we have a collective
Finished.
scream?
Yes.
I know
Yes,
this
can
is not,
I
yeah.
move to add a 9.7 where we have a collective scream of,
yeah.
I approve that.
ah!
We don't vote, and we don't vote at this meeting. We vote at our other meeting.
Is that the
At the high school mini
high
auditorium.
school.
On the
Yeah.
20th.
During the school year, we have it there so that we have more space for families to come in because we do our star awards, like our kids awards that come in, and we have it's kind of a student of the month
They would
program that
never
we
fit
do.
in here.
And yeah, they won't fit in here. So
Yeah, we tried to go to that one last month.
it was a great one. We had
Oh,
tons of
yeah.
people there.
I checked the wrong date. I went on it was the third February Thursday. I went to it. It was the one.
And it
Oh,
got
we moved
moved
it up.
We had
last
to move-
month.
we're
It was
sorry.
early for some financial things coming in or something.
Yeah, just check our website.
Sometimes it
should be
gets
updated.
changed, but rarely.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Item 10.
I will motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. The time is